Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is pinned. Pinned. Now, as you come to a little bit more description in these chapters, chapter 10 and 11, in between the sixth and seventh trumpet here in Revelation chapter 10, if you just happen to be joining with us today. But so as we're going through, we're going to pick up today right where we left off yesterday. But I think it's interesting here, especially in this chapter, as something changes. We have a little bit of information that is different than really everything else in the book. If you remember, right, John has this whole experience. He has this whole revelation, hence the name, from God, and he tells him to write these things down. And it is so. And even as you get to the end, this is so that we all have this information ahead of time. Now, we agree, and I'm sure that we all understand that some of these things that we've talked about, they're difficult to understand exactly what it may look like. Now, that doesn't change the fact that it's going to happen, doesn't change the fact that it makes perfect sense when it does occur. Everything will line up, all the details will line up perfectly because that's who God is. And so, as we look to these details, while some of them may not make sense and they may sound a little bit strange to us, it doesn't change the truth of the revelation. Now, while there are things that we do not understand, God has revealed all these things to us through John for a reason. He wrote them down so we could study them, not just so we could be scared to look into the book, scared to look ahead, and just. I still tell you that I believe that Satan, one of his greatest victories, has been to get people afraid of the book of Revelation and afraid of end times as though we can pretend that it's not coming. And I think that happens so much, especially within the church today. So, here today, what is pinned? I want you to notice something that changes a little bit here in Revelation chapter 10. First four verses today. I saw still another mighty angel coming down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was on his head. His face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. He had a little book open in his hand, and he set his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. When he cried out, seven thunders uttered their voices. Now, when the seven thunders uttered their voices, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, seal up the things which the seven thunders uttered, and do not write them. Now, it seems interesting to me that, we look to the revelation and we say, well, these are the things that are going to happen. And while some of those things are clouded in mystery, just because we don't understand completely or fully, here you get, well, there's a reason we don't know part of what's going to happen because God has told John not to write it. As you go on through, and as always, I encourage you to read the whole chapter, you'll see that then he is to take this little book or this little scroll, and some would say, okay, well, what is written on it? Some would say, okay, is this the scroll that was open from the beginning? And in each of these things that have happened, the seven seals, and then the trumpets that came from that, is it that seal that? I'm sorry, is it that scroll that this angel has in his hand? Well, it says little book, and John even uses a different Greek word altogether to describe it. So it's unlikely it's the same one, but it's also the case that as he talks about how large this angel is, you imagine 1 foot in the sea, a right foot in the sea, and his left hand on the land, and it really kind of gives you this picture of a very large, impressive angel. I do not believe that this is Jesus Christ. Some will argue that this is Jesus just because of the description. One, that he's an angel. Jesus is not described that way. And the other fact is that later in the chapter, he I think right after this, he raises his hand to swear by heaven, by God, and Jesus would not have to do that. So as you look to whoever this angel is, And whatever is written on this little book, it could be the scroll from heaven. And now, because of his impressive size, the scroll looks small. But I have a feeling that, and just kind of as you're reading through, just trying not to read too much into it, it seems to be a different book. I believe John probably would have written it down to say the scroll that was in heaven that's now in the angel's hand. But regardless, what is written on the scroll, and what he hears, what he hears he cannot repeat. He was getting ready to write it down. What happened with the seven thunders, what they said, what was spoken through the thunders. Seven is that picture and that number we see throughout Revelation that is, completeness, and what God uses so many times. So now we see that he's not able to write it down. You continue on in this chapter, and you see that John is even told to eat the scroll. And he says that it'll be sweet in his mouth, but bitter in his stomach. This whole revelation, and including whatever was written on this scroll, and even the things that John was having to take in through all this time, it was sweet to be able to say, this is the revelation of God. This is the same for us, that we should be looking to, even if we're not physically eating the scroll, and whether or not John physically did or not, but to actually take in the word of God is sweet, right? To understand and to receive the revelation of God is sweet, and it tastes sweet. And we look to the judgment of God, and we understand that, kind of like that victory is sweet. And I know that many people say, well, revenge is sweet. But God is going to pour out his wrath and his judgment and his vengeance on the world because of sin. And so at first we think, man, we come to Revelation and we say, yes, Christians, we are victorious in Jesus Christ, and it is sweet. But honestly, as we continue to digest this, as we continue, like John, for it to get to our stomachs, for us to continue to meditate on it, and to just to think about it and pray on it, and to just to digest it, it becomes bitter, because we understand all these things are going to be destroyed. We understand how many people are going to be destroyed, how many people are going to be sent who have chosen to disobey God, chosen to reject him at every single stop they have rejected him. How many of those, right? How many people? All of those, but just how many will be sent to the lake of fire for all eternity? See, judgment does taste sweet to begin with. The revelation of God is sweet, but then those things become bitter, understanding exactly the full extent of the revelation. But then I couldn't help but think, as awful as it is, and at the same time, the wonderful things that are written as well for the children of God. I wonder what it is here that couldn't be written down. The way things are going and the way things are speeding up, I have a feeling that even some of these terrible things that are happening, and even it could be something wonderful that was said by the seven thunders, something that would maybe give something away. I don't know. We don't know. But one day we will. So today, and as we continue through Revelation, be thankful for what is penned, what is written down, what is revealed. And then also remember that God is still the holder of mystery. There are still those secret things that belong only to him. Today, let's trust in him. Let's chew on the word of God. Let it be sweet in our mouths. But yes, also be warned, it will be bitter in our stomachs as well. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.